Hey there, good morning, Earthmaster here, just checking in real quick. September 3rd, 2017, 5:43 p.m. or a.m. here in the West Coast region. Still quite a bit of earthquake activity occurring over in the state of Idaho following that 5.3 earthquake they had yesterday. Also, you can see there on the globe the 6.3 explosion in North Korea right here yesterday, well, last night sometime, while we were up here on the live stream. They had a nuclear test of some sort, and it's being confirmed this morning by areas and news sources that it was a H-bomb that they were bragging about that they had. And obviously they set it off because that type of magnitude, 6.3 earthquake caused by a bomb, is up around the hydrogen level. And North Korea themselves are claiming to have detonated that hydrogen bomb. So also a 4.1 occurring just a few minutes after that 6.3 in the same region. Now the USGS has that listed as a collapse of whatever they, wherever they had detonated at. I'm guessing somewhat underground, but on the USGS map here, which I'll show you guys, you can see here the 6.3 main explosion in North Korea, followed up a few minutes later by a collapse in the same region, setting off a magnitude of 4.1. I was just looking at all the quakes that are occurring over there in Idaho overnight. Quite a bit of activity there. Of course, I think everyone knows now the 5.3 occurred near Soda Springs, Idaho, close to Yellowstone, regionally speaking, but not, I don't believe it's related in any way. Just too much of a distance there, 100 miles or so more from this quake epicenter to the Yellowstone National Park region there in Wyoming. They did have yesterday a 4.3 earthquake strike just a few minutes, or actually about a minute and a half prior to the 5.3 that occurred yesterday in Soda Springs. So it's kind of like a little foreshocker there. But since then, been quite a bit of aftershock activity. 4.1, 4.2s, numerous 3s and 2s, and the list just keeps going and going. And if you're like me, you have the USGS text notification on your phone. Well, that thing went off pretty much all night last night. So quite a bit of activity going on over there, guys. Also included a station in Idaho that is pretty close to the epicenter of that 5.3 earthquake here, called Cedar Butte, Idaho. Now, if you were watching the live stream overnight, you've probably seen this thing go off a couple times, indicating some earthquake activity. See a small little earthquake right now as we speak. So it's possible this is going to go on for a couple more days following that main quake of the 5.3 near Soda Springs yesterday. Here's another map of the region there in Idaho, just showing quite a bit of aftershock activity following that 5.3. It's also showing the Yellowstone activity, all the small quakes there, including in the negative, which is rather interesting. But yeah, so this activity is just east of the Soda Springs, Idaho region, and not in any specific location. It's pretty much kind of just spread out excuse me, over a region of about 15 kilometers. Looking at the scale down here, about 15 kilometers within a region over there. Pretty interesting activity. Checking out the California, Nevada latest earthquake map. not a whole lot of activity. Some small micro earthquakes near Hollister along the San Andreas Fault. Other than that, not a lot of info to report on this region. Same with Mammoth Lake's Long Valley supervolcano region. They did have some activity yesterday at 3.0 there. Or actually, about 2 days ago is when that occurred. But since then, the activity has died down quite a bit there. Looking at the Yellowstone thumbnails that I like to pull up here, it's actually a really cool site to check out, and you can see all the activity on a wider view. This here is the region of Yellowstone National Park in northwest Wyoming. You can see all the activity in Idaho being picked up on all these seismograph stations here, including the seismograph where the earthquake swarm in Yellowstone National Park has been occurring. Does not look like this activity has affected the earthquake swarm in Yellowstone National Park. As far as the activity in Idaho goes, I don't see any kind of increased activity either. A couple small spikes here. These are really localized earthquake swarm activity, but there's not a whole lot. It's continuing, but there's no uptick or any type of decline either following the activity in Yellowstone. But no doubt the 5.3 made a pretty good sized signature on all of these earthquake stations. Closer over here to Moose Creek, Idaho, which I'm a lot closer to the Soda Springs region than the Yellowstone area is. You can see the 48 earthquakes or so that occurred overnight following that 5.3 they had. You can actually see the 4.3 or 4.8 prior to that 5.3. So you could also see that there on the map there with that little break in between the red. This giant red mark signature is the 5.3 one. So quite a bit of activity out there. We'll continue to watch it throughout the day. It's definitely taking up quite a bit of space here on the globe. And we'll continue to monitor the situation in North Korea. I'm sure everyone around the globe is. So have a great weekend out there, guys, or what's left of it. It's going to be another hot one out here in Northern California. Definitely up in the hundreds again. So take care, and we'll chat at you all here in a little bit.